In this video, we're gonna go over 5 pieces of kit that you should consider having before purchasing another firearm. This is for those of you who already have a basic rifle and pistol setup, but you're not really sure where to go next. And if you have been prepping for a long time and you know what you're doing, I would love to hear your recommendations down in the comments below. But in the meantime, this is 5 of my recommendations for essential things that you should consider before purchasing your next firearm. The first thing I would recommend investing in is a nice stockpile of range ammo. The more that we can go out and train, the more effective we're gonna be at helping our communities if things do go south. Keep in mind that every time there is some sort of unrest or a supply chain issue or an election year, ammo prices skyrocket. So it's best to get ahead of the curve and have your own little stockpile so that you can continue to train even when ammo prices are super high and you don't have to ruin your finances just because you're going out and training like you should. So it's definitely a good idea for you and your buddies to have a nice stockpile so that y'all can continue to do your thing even when the world is falling apart. And if someday ammo supply actually does just get completely cut off, you and your community will be set to go to be able to defend that community. The next thing that I would recommend investing in is some quality medical gear. An ifaks setup like this can be easily pieced together for a lower cost than any pre-built ifak, but obviously going out and getting a pre-built setup is a way to go if that's what you want to do. I would say if you're going to try to save some money and piece together your own ifaks setup, to start with a cat tourniquet. This is a cat tourniquet from North American Rescue. I highly recommend that company and that source if you're gonna go for a cat tourniquet. After you've gone and purchased a few tourniquets, obviously you're gonna need a pouch or a bag or something along those lines to hold the rest of your medical gear in. And this is a Eagle Industries bag. I love this thing. This is kind of a off-body, separate from my kit kind of go-to. Actually has magazine pouches and I can put everything from tons of medical gear to some zip cuffs to whatever I need to put in this bag that'll just kind of stay in my vehicle. But obviously there's other options as well, like this fanny pack here. It's a little more covert, I guess you could say. It's pretty large, but you can absolutely stuff this thing to the brim with medical gear and it'll do the trick. And then obviously we're gonna need to fill our pouch, dangler pouch, our bag, whatever, with medical gear. If you want to know what I put in mine, you can go down to the links in the description below and see exactly the supplies like chest seals, combat gauze, things like that I put in my ifaks. And then obviously you can go the route of the small ifak on the back of your battle belt or a small dangler pouch on your plate carrier that you can stuff medical supplies into. All of these are good options. Just make sure that the gear that you're shoving into your ifak, that you know how to use it and you're proficient with it and that you've trained with it. Another piece of gear that I would recommend having is a quality handheld flashlight. These things are awesome for seeing in the dark, and they can also serve as a good deterrent without escalating the level of force that you're using. So we want to make sure that we're staying within the bounds of the law. And if you think something shady is happening at nighttime or in a dark structure, you can simply use your flashlight and you can shine it at a person, whatever it is, and you're not escalating a level of force. You're not being unlawful in any way. These are a great tool to have. Highly recommend it. If you want to know more about white lights and why I think they're important, go check out my most recent EDC video where I go into detail about why I think it's a good idea that you should have one. The fourth thing on our list today is a basic plate carrier setup. This is a Crye JPC 2.0. It's very minimal, and we're talking really minimal. It's got 3 mags on the front. It's got an admin pouch on the top. And then of course you have to have a dangler because danglers are cool. But in all seriousness, pair this with some L211s and you have a great basic setup for range time with the buddies, as well as actually being prepared for something to happen. Who knows? YouTube, please don't demonetize this. Speaking of demonetization, YouTube absolutely hates us. So if you want to support the channel, you can go down below and give us a super thanks. It helps support us. You can also use any of the links down in the description if you're going to purchase any of the gear that we've talked about today. It gives us a little kickback and helps us a ton. So thanks, and let's move on. The fifth thing that we should consider before purchasing another firearm is to make sure that our current firearms are as effective as they can be. Things like adding a red dot or maybe adding a white light. I think every firearm should have a white light at the very least, because it's important to see in the dark, just like we talked about earlier. And then the red dot, it's a game changer. Once you learn how to shoot with an optic on a handgun, it's hard to go back. I'm having trouble going back. I've put red dots on pretty much every handgun I own. Maybe it's a crutch, but maybe it's also quite the advantage. So you decide. I love my red dots, but at the very least, consider having a white light. I would also recommend that you invest in a quality holster, whether that's inside the waistband or outside the waistband. It doesn't really matter as long as you go out and train. And it's the same thing with our rifle setups. We want to make sure that we have a sling. We want to make sure we have a good white light and a decent optic. At the very least, some iron sights will do the trick as long as they're of good quality and will hold zero. Now that we've put all the pieces together, we want to make sure that we're going out there, we're getting some quality training, that we're training with our friends, and that we're staying proficient with these skills. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, leave us a like. If you want to support us directly, you can leave a super thanks down below. Use any of the links in the description or go to ctznarms.com and purchase a dad hat there. That helps us out a ton. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.